Hello students, welcome to the series on business environment. The topic of this lecture is Importance of Business Environment. While discussing the various components of business environment, we came to know that these components affect the functioning and performance of the business directly or indirectly. So, it is very important for the business to know about the changes in these components of business environment and frame the strategies and policies of the business accordingly. The external environmental factors like the political environment, economic environment, socio-cultural environment, demographic, natural and international environment affects the functioning of the business. To understand the impact of these factors on the business, environmental analysis is done. The efficient firms which thrive to stay longer in the market systematically analyze the business environment. Environmental analysis is the study of various factors that affect the functioning and the performance of the business, and through this process of environmental analysis, businesses identify the various threats and opportunities affecting the business through monitoring their relevant environment. The main function of environmental analysis is to help the business in identifying the opportunities that are being provided to the business by the different environmental factors that affect the business. It helps the business to plan and take the appropriate action to avail these opportunities. Environmental analysis supports the business in developing early warning system to prevent the threat by the environmental changes and to develop the strategies that can turn threats into advantages for the business. Environmental analysis basically helps the manager in carefully analyzing the environmental factors affecting the business, and the businessmen through the environmental analysis come to know about the opportunities and threats posed by the environment that affects the business. So students, now we know the meaning of environmental analysis. The business should know its strengths and weaknesses and the opportunities and threats imposed by the business by the external environment that affects the business. For example, we know that the Indian economy has flourished because of liberalization. So, the manager should know what are the impacts of liberalization on the business. What are the threats and opportunities imposed by liberalization on the business? The business can find out the answer to all these questions through environmental analysis. Environmental analysis has gained importance as a significant tool in corporate planning and decision making. The responsibility of the managers is to identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats that are imposed by the environment affecting the business. The managers do so to ensure that the strength of the business captures the opportunity posed by the environment that affects the business, and the manager has to ensure that the business should not fall victim to the threat posed by the environment that affects the business because of the limitations of the business. The senior officials, executives or the managers should be assigned the task of environmental analysis. This task should not be assigned to lower level employees of the organization. Management Information System Department is being established in most of the organization for smooth and effective running of the business. Through this department, the managers can get access to the required information at any time. So, this department helps the manager in making decisions and strategy formulation. The task of environmental analysis can be assigned to this separate department, but the involvement of some senior officials should be there, and the reporting should be made to the top level management of the organization or organization may even go for a separate environmental analysis department. This may add to the cost for the business, but will ultimately help the business in effective decision making and policy formulation to win over the competition. Timely action should be taken to overcome the problems faced by the business due to sudden change in the external environment that affects the functioning of the business. Now, let us talk about the need or requirement of environmental analysis for the business in current scenario. Let us understand this by discussing the following factors. These factors are: environmental analysis supports the business in understanding the current and probable changes in the environment. Environmental analysis helps the business in decision making. Environmental analysis helps the business in strategy formulation. Environmental analysis helps the business in ensuring optimum utilization of resources. Now, let us talk about the first factor, that is, environmental analysis supports the business in understanding the current and probable changes in the environment. It is important for the manager to know the latest changes and the current happenings in the environment that affects the business. For example, the technological environment, socio-cultural, economic and political environment has its direct or indirect influence on the business. The technological environment is very important for the business, and the business should be aware of the latest technology in the market that can reduce the production cost and increase the profit for the business. Similarly, business should be aware of the other external environmental factors. Environmental analysis helps the business to identify and understand these changes in their respective environments, and through environmental analysis, the top management makes the most efficient decisions for the business. The next factor is environmental analysis helps the business in decision making. Environmental analysis provides the information about the changes in the environmental factors, and this helps the management to take the decision accordingly. Thus, environmental analysis provides various alternatives to the business through providing the information on the changes in the environmental factors regarding the possible threat and opportunities posed by the environment, and managers select the best alternative option and thus makes the best decision for the business. Let us talk about the third factor, that is, environmental analysis helps the business in strategy formulation. Through environmental analysis, the most appropriate strategy is formulated by the managers by analyzing the threat and opportunities imposed by the environment affecting the business. Strategy is formulated to implement the decision taken after environmental analysis. This decision may be on the new technological advancement or to face the competition. The next factor is environmental analysis helps the business in ensuring optimum utilization of the resources. The success of the business depends upon the effective and efficient use of the resources to ensure the high productivity at lower cost. Environmental analysis helps the business in analyzing its strength, weakness, opportunities and threats and avail the benefits out of these. So, environmental analysis make the business dynamic and diversify the areas for business operation through understanding the threat and opportunities from the environment to the business. So, it helps in understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the business to ensure maximum benefit to the business. Environmental analysis foresee the impact of components of business environment on the business. Now, students, look at this diagram to understand the process of environmental analysis. In the first step, environmental analysis studies the opportunities and threats from the components of business environment. In the second step, environmental analysis studies the strengths and weaknesses of the business. In the third step, it provides information on how best the business can make use of the opportunities, threats, strengths and weaknesses to ensure maximum benefit to the business. In the fourth step, it suggests various alternatives to the managers. In the fifth step, management selects the best alternative out of the available alternatives. In the sixth step, management of the organization takes the decision based on this information provided by environmental analysis. In the seventh step, management formulates the strategy for the business. In the eighth step, the strategy is implemented. In the ninth step, the officials are appointed to check if there is any deviation from the strategy formulated. In the 10th step, if there is a deviation, then corrective measures are taken into consideration, and in the last and final step, further environmental analysis is conducted. So, basically environmental analysis is a continuous process and it is very essential for the business operating in the current scenario and for the future also. We have talked about the need of environmental analysis. So, now we will talk about the limitations of environmental analysis and the technique used for environmental analysis. The limitations of environmental analysis are as follows. The first limitation is unexpected events. Environmental analysis monitors the current business environment and forecasts the changes in the environment that affects the business. We know that future is uncertain. For example, terrorist attack or natural calamities are uncertain. So, the environmental analysis may prove wrong during such situations. The next factor is in strategy formulation, environmental analysis is not the only factor. For organizational effectiveness and strategy formulation, lot of inputs are considered. Environmental analysis is only one input. So, the other inputs should also be considered. The third factor is inaccurate data. The effectiveness of environmental analysis is dependent on the accurate data. So, the data used in forecasting the environmental changes depend upon its accuracy. This data may not be accurate always. The last factor is too much dependence of the business on environmental analysis. Business is the activity that involves risk and adventure. Environmental analysis makes the manager too cautious about their decision making. This makes him miss the new and innovative ideas. So, these were the limitations of environmental analysis. It is being adopted by the businesses in the current scenario because its advantages are more than its limitations. Now, let us continue this lecture with the discussion of technique used for environmental analysis. SWOT analysis is used by the business to understand the internal and external environment affecting the business. SWOT stands for S stands for strength, W stands for weakness, O stands for opportunity and T stands for threat. This technique is used for organizational effectiveness and strategy formulation. Through SWOT analysis, business can match their internal strength and weaknesses, that is their internal environment, with the opportunities and threat imposed by the external factors that affect the business. Strength of the business can be used to avail the opportunities, whereas the threat by the business environment can be combated by turning the weakness of the business into its strength. The strength and weakness of the business are related to the internal business environment. The strength and weakness of the business can be in the form of technological capabilities, financial resources, human resources, marketing ability, production facilities, etc. The threat and opportunities are related to the external environment affecting the business. External business environment may pose a threat to the business through growing competition as well as give the opportunity to the business by removing taxes and imposing subsidy. Look at this diagram to understand better that the strengths and weaknesses are from the internal business environment and opportunities and threats are through external business environment, but they influence the business. Let us discuss the components of SWOT analysis. First is strength. Strength is basically the capacity of the business to win over the competition. For example, advanced technology used by the business for production at low cost and dedicated research and development team of the business are the strength of the business. For example, Japanese industries use advanced technology for manufacturing of electronic goods and thus they beat the competition. Reliance has an upper hand and brand image in raising capital through shares. The next factor is weakness. Weakness is termed as disadvantage of the business in comparison to its competitors. For example, overdependence of the firm on single product line like Procter & Gamble specializes in Vicks and Colgate specializes in toothpaste and tooth powder. These companies have not diversified their product line, which is their weakness. The next factor is opportunities. It is a favorable condition for the business. Business should have enough strength factors to avail the opportunities provided by the external environment to the business. For example, government enacted a law which makes it compulsory for the two-wheeler drivers to wear a helmet. This is an opportunity for the helmet manufacturing businesses. The next factor is threats. It is unfavorable condition for the business as it increases the risk for the business through change in fashion, shortage of raw material supply or growing competition. For example, Maruti Zen Estilo and WagonR are facing competition from the similar price range cars from Hyundai and Chevrolet. For example, Hyundai i10 and Hyundai i20 and Chevrolet's Beat are giving competition to Maruti's Zen Estilo and WagonR. It is important for the business to understand and identify these threats and opportunities imposed by the external environment that affects the business. Corporate planning, business decisions and strategy formulation depends upon these factors. So, the management should take the best alternative into consideration and make the best decision that can help the business to grow. Now students, let's talk about the need or importance of the study of business environment. Business should be aware of the changes in its surroundings and should adapt and adjust itself with these changes in the surroundings. We can understand the significance of business environment through various factors. These factors are policy formulation, optimum utilization of resources, to analyze competitors' strategy, to make the business dynamic and innovative, for effective decision making, to analyze the strengths of the business, to identify the weakness of the business, to identify the opportunities for the business, to identify the threats for the business, to analyze the internal business environment, to understand the market situation, to adjust with the technological advancements, to understand the international environment, to understand the economic environment, to understand the political environment and to understand the socio-cultural environment. Let's begin with policy formulation. The quick success of the business is dependent upon how well it can adjust itself with the changes in the external policies. So, the business policies and strategies should be based on these changes, and it should be kept in mind that the changes in external environment or the demands of the external environment influence the functioning and performance of the business. The next factor is optimum utilization of resources. Without understanding the changes in the internal and external business environment, the business cannot ensure optimum utilization of resources like raw materials, human resources, financial resources. So, for this, study of business environment is very important. The next factor is to analyze the competitor's strategy. The study of business environment is very important for the business to know the strategies adopted by the competitors or to formulate the counter plans to face the competition. The counter plans protect the business against competition. The next factor is to make the business dynamic and innovative. The study of business environment makes the business alert and dynamic through the awareness about the changes related to the external factors that affect the business. Through well planned strategies, business operation can be expanded when there are favorable conditions, and the business can be well prepared for the unfavorable conditions to operate. The next factor is for effective decision making. The study of business environment provides the business with various alternatives. These alternatives are available for the business to deal with the changes in the external business environment. The manager selects the best possible alternative and thus makes the best decision for the business, and thus the business stays longer in the market. Now, let us continue this lecture with the discussion of significance of the study of business environment. The next factor in this context is to analyze the strengths of the business. The strength of the business means the capacity of the business organization to gain advantage over the competitors. Environmental analysis or the study of business environment helps the business to identify its strength and make the policies to expand the business. The next factor is to identify the weaknesses of the business. The weakness of the business means the limitation of the business organization. It may be termed as the disadvantage of the firm over its competitors. Environmental analysis or the study of business environment helps the business to identify its weakness and helps the business to formulate the strategies and make decisions to overcome this weakness. The next factor is to identify the opportunities for the business. Opportunities from the external business environment are favorable for the business. If the business has factors contributing to its strength, then business should make efforts to avail the opportunities by the external environment affecting the business. Environmental analysis or the study of business environment helps the business to know about such opportunities, and on the basis of this, business takes timely action and takes full advantage of such opportunities. The next factor is to identify the threats for the business. Threats from the external business environment increases the risk for the business organization and are unfavorable for the business. Environmental analysis or the study of business environment helps the business to identify such threats and to find ways to manage the risk. These threats may be in the form of rapid technological changes, change in fashion, increased competition, or change in political, cultural, social and economic environment, which affect the performance and functioning of the business. The next factor is to analyze the internal environment. The managers should be aware of the internal business environment and the changes taking place in it. It may have positive or negative effect on the functioning and performance of the business. For example, strikes are unfavorable for the business because production is stopped for a certain period due to this, and it results in loss to the firm. Environmental study or the study of business environment provides timely information to the managers on such changes. The next factor is to understand the market situation. The goods and services are provided by the business to the customers. These customers, suppliers and competitors are from the market. So, they affect the functioning and performance of the business. Change in demand and supply and recession or boom in the market affects the functioning of the business. So, it is must that it should be brought to the notice of the manager. Through environmental analysis and study of business environment, the manager frames strategies and policies accordingly. The next factor is to adjust with the technological advancement. The business should adapt the policies and should adjust with the latest technological changes. This will help the business to have the competitive advantage over its competitors, and this will help the business to improve its efficiency by reducing the production cost and increasing the profits for the business. The next factor is to understand the international environment. It is very important for the business to understand the impact of globalization or international events on the business. This can be done through the study of environmental analysis or business environment. The next factor is to understand the economic environment. The import and export policy, taxation policy and industrial policy etc. by the Indian government affect the functioning and performance of the business. These may prove to be the opportunities or threats for the business. These may be favorable or unfavorable for the business. So, the business should monitor the changes in such environment, and the study of business environment helps the manager in doing so. The next factor is to understand the political environment. Political stability in the country or the political relation of our country with other countries affects the functioning and performance of the business. It may have positive or negative impact on the business. So, the business should monitor these changes, and this can be done through environmental analysis or the study of business environment. The next factor is to understand the socio-cultural environment. The socio-cultural factors like caste, religion, value system, family system, urbanization, etc. affects the functioning and performance of the business. This may have the positive or negative impact on the business. So, the business should monitor these changes, and this can be done through environmental analysis. The other factors like terrorism, war and natural calamities affect the functioning and performance of the business, and these situations are not in control of the business. So, the business should try to reserve some fund to cope up with the difficulties caused during such situations. So, students, now you know the importance or need of the study of business environment. Thank you.